Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We've started the webinar a couple of minutes early just to give everyone time to get in. We're also for the first time presenting on Zoom events webinar. Like all new things, we've got to learn it. It's a little bit more complicated, lots more configuration options. So hopefully we've got it all right. We'll get the webinar underway on time, but thanks for joining us early. We can see people starting to drift in, which is great. Thanks for joining us. As I said, a few minutes early. New Zoom events platform, so hopefully everything goes off without a hitch. One of the best questions we've got at the moment is, are we going to get more note takers than attendees? So definitely noticing on events these days, people are logging in with their note takers and watching recordings and catching up later on. But thanks for jumping in. As I said, we'll get underway on time. Can still see people coming in, so that's fantastic. Now chat is open, so maybe just let's start using the chat just to get into it. Just maybe put a message of where you're from. It's just the chat is not open. There you go. That's good. Excellent. First little Q&A is open. Maybe use the Q&A. Go and ask a question, which is just say where you're from. I'm in the Adelaide Hills. It's a beautiful day here in Adelaide. I was in Sydney on Monday and I needed my floaties to get around. It was wet in Sydney. Hey, we're right on time, a minute extra. So as I said, thanks for joining us today. Really excited to be presenting this session on how you can get Apxium and get paid. My name's Ned. I'm the head of sales here at Apxium. I've been in the industry now for over 25 years. Scary to sort of start saying those numbers. Used to be an accountant, then went and spent a wee little 17 years at MYB before a few years at FY, and I joined Apxium in February of this year, and super excited to join the team. I've known Gabor and the team here for many years as a partner, and was really excited to join and really look at how we can help firms get more efficient, get paid faster, and as well as become more profitable as well. So we'll cover all of that today. So it's a good little message. So on that, I'd just like to welcome Gabor. Hi Gabor, how you going?
Hello Ned. Hello everyone. Welcome to a little webinar today. We're very excited to show you everything we have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Gabor. Really excited to have Chris Bray join us from Director of Braid Shan. Hi, Chris. How you going?
Very well, thanks, Ned, and excited to be here. First time I've done one of these, so hopefully I don't say anything too silly.
No, you'll be fine. And love the painting in the background. It's a good picture. So thanks for joining us. So that's really what we're here to talk about today. Is you can see it on screen. It's a really great reference site of ours from a firm over in Perth, and I've seen this already multiple times with firms that have implemented Apxium this year. Is very quickly they start to see their debtor days just dropping, and not only is the debtor days coming down, they're also reducing the time they spend on the admin. And then lots of options for clients to pay, which means that it just brings down their debtor days. So that's really the crux of what we're here to talk about today, and look forward to getting into it. Let's keep going. Hang on. Of course, I've got to click buttons to get my screen share working. Okay, sorry about that. Excellent. So what are we going to cover today? I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on some industry insights, which I think might help us set up.
Are you sharing right now, Ned?
Yeah,
excellent.
I can't say anything. Sorry, Ned.
Not right now, you're not.
That little chestnut, rookie error. Apologies. How about now?
Let's have a look.
Got it.
Looks
Excellent.
good.
Great. So agenda today, I'm going to cover some industry insights. I think some interesting little things that are happening in the industry, and hopefully it sets us up then for how the Apxium platform can really help you in a few areas. Then we're going to have a chat with Chris about his story, how he sort of joined the industry, and what his firm's doing, including his move recently from XPM to FY Elite. So really good story there. Then I'm going to cover how Apxium can actually reduce these debtor days as well as save time. And then Gabor's going to jump in and do some quick little platform tours. Obviously, with the time we've got today, we can't show everything, but we can certainly give you a bit of an insight into how the platform can help your business. Then we're just going to quickly cover a couple of other products that Apxium provide to the industry: Audit Safe and TaxPay. We'll cover onboarding and next steps, and we've got plenty of time for Q&A. So if you do have queries as we go through, please drop them in the Q&A session. We're pretty flexible today, so yeah, drop them in, and we should be able to cover them during the session. A couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of attending the Dashboard Insights release of their report on the state of the accounting industry. So they've got actual data of over 200 accounting firms in Australia. So it's very localized data. They would be more than happy to share this report with you. So if you like, get in touch with them, or I've got a copy as well, which I can share. But I've just got 3 data points that we can take out of it. So the debtor days. So obviously across the industry, average is around about 26 debtor days, but that can really blow out. And some firms are collecting, really pushing out their debtors over 30 days. Whereas the best firms in 17. And what we can say amongst our clients is they're typically around 10 to 15 days in debtor days. So they're definitely in the upper quartile percentage of this report. And we'll get Chris to share his information as we go through. Hey, Gabor, that's Australia. You had
That's
a really
right.
good story about the US.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to compare ourselves to the US.
We were
How are they going over there?
Well, we were just talking backstage. Overnight, I had a larger firm in Long Island proceed to implement Apxium, and they're around 200 million in receivables, in net billings, as they call it. And I was telling Ned that, these numbers he's sharing with us are amazing because this particular firm, 200 million in net billables, and their current DSO, as they call it, so day sales outstanding, or what we call debtor days, is 76. There's currently 50 million in receivables sitting in their book waiting to be paid, that's Aussie dollars, which is just crazy.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's just always interesting to compare ourselves to the US, and certainly seeing that banking, transactions happen a lot faster. I can't remember the last time I got a check, and when I did, it was pretty annoying because I didn't actually know what to do with it. We've certainly moved on in Australia. Also, just an interesting one on lockup. So whilst debtor days obviously is a key metric, so is WIP days, and that's really probably a bigger push out of that lockup is WIP days, and that's where things like regular invoicing, moving clients to monthly, quarterly, or fee in advance can really help that information. We'll cover that as we go through as well. And lastly, and this is a little bit biased, but I think it's an interesting metric, is they tracked software spend and how that can then translate into efficiency gains and therefore profitability. And the most profitable firms did spend more on software. And so I think what we can take from that is that where there's an ROI, it's absolutely best in this best of breed world to keep on adding apps to your app stack where they can provide value. Obviously, no one wants software bloat. No one wants to overinvest and go and have too much monthly subscriptions. But if you can show an ROI, it can absolutely lead to increased efficiency, which therefore drives profitability. Some really just key insights out of the report, and as I said, happy to share it with you afterwards, or you can go and grab a copy of that from Dashboard Insights. Really good application that helps drive data analytics using Power BI. Another survey, this is from last year, but I think it's really valuable. I always like sharing it, is key insights into the accounting industry. And what this one here in the middle shows is how firms currently invoice today. And what we can see is that we're very much in a hybrid world in accounting. So we've got lots of fixed fee, hourly billing, value billing, retainer fees. There's a whole bunch of methodologies being used by today's accounting firms. This is also matched on the right-hand side with an interview of your clients and how they would like to be billed. And what it shows me is that your clients are also wanting some sort of hybrid billing structures. They want to know that, yes, fixed fee is great, it gives them visibility, but they also want to know for variable jobs that there is a method to do it in the best possible way. So that just reinforces this hybrid world. And that's one of the great things about Apxium is it helps both methodologies of billing, not just one. We're supporting both the hybrid billing methodologies. So when I used to work in an accounting firm, this pretty much mapped how we used to work. And that is at the start of the slide, we'd kick off the job, and then we've got a whole bunch of work in progress as we went through. We would then eventually, once the job finishes, we create that invoice, and send it out. And to some extent, we were relying on the client to make that payment. We try to communicate with them, but really it's very much a manual process, which often led to disputes, late fees, and then even potentially write-offs. I kind of call this the tides going out. Everything we're doing here is sort of reinforcing a blowout in our debtor days. Whereas what we are wanting to move to, and why Apxium exists, is bringing the tide back in. So let's put in place a whole range of functionality. There's no one silver bullet. There's no one function in Apxium that all of a sudden changes the game dramatically. There's just a whole range of features and functions designed to bring in these debtor days. So at the start, this customized communication. So making sure clients always have access to their invoices, statements, reminders, and they're constantly being communicated with anything they've got outstanding. We then got the abilities to do unfunded and funded plans. We'll show what that means, but that basically means that a client can pay their invoice off over a period of time. And we've got some best practice we can provide around that, and we can charge interest, or you can carry it on your balance sheet as well. But options are a really good way to bring down debtor days. Then obviously we want to make it easy to pay, so credit card, EFT, etc. And then over here, we want to try to move towards invoicing in advance and grabbing direct debit details. And through that dashboard insights report, actually, it was really good to see the industry is probably around about 20% across all their firms that surveyed. We're doing some sort of direct debits and moving towards that function where the firm can just grab the money when it's due, rather than waiting for the client to go and pay that invoice. And then we're going to touch on this a bit later on, but there's also with Apxium through our, we were doing these payment plans, but lots of firms started to say, hey, what if we want additional financing? So we can finance your WIP, we can finance invoices, and we can also finance ATO tax debt, which we'll talk about as we go through. Before we kick off on talking about the functionality, I thought it'd be great to get Chris in and just have a chat to him about some of the things that he uses Apxium for, what's been his experience. Welcome to the stage, Chris.
Thank you, Ned.
I might just stop share if I just so we can get reduce the size. Of course, all the buttons have moved. Share, stop share. Yep, there we go. Great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and Bray Chan.
Yeah, so Bray Chan's a two-partner firm. We've got, I think, around 35, 36 people, about half in Adelaide and half in the Philippines. Turnover's around a bit over 3.5 million, I think, at last count. Debtor balance right now is 136,000 as of this morning. So I calculated that that's a 14.18 debtor days post implementing Apxium. And I think before Apxium, I think it was probably 2 or 3 times that.
Yeah, great. That's excellent. Hey, Chris, full disclosure, you are a director of Apxium, but how did that come about and why did you decide to become a director?
Yeah, so in the early stages of Apxium, our tech stack was really MYOB AE and Microsoft Office. So we were really keen to improve efficiency and invoice clients directly from the accounting software. At that time, AE didn't allow you to do that, and it was an incredibly frustrating process of manually creating an invoice in AE, exporting a PDF, printing it, posting it to clients, or emailing it a PDF. So no automation or follow-up, no online payment options, manual bank reconciliation to match payments. So it was just a complete dog's breakfast. So we had like a lot of clients paying, as I'm sure a lot of accounting firms would, $200 at the time for their ASIC fees, and all these clients had paid $200, and we're thinking who paid what. It was just really annoying. So actually what happened is Jeremy Coombe, the founder and current CEO of Apxium, who I went to school with, came to visit, and he'd actually spoken to my father at a barbecue, and my father had said, "Oh, look, Chris is into all that stuff. Go and talk to him." I was, "Oh, thanks, Dad. Salesman's coming out to see me." And Jeremy showed me what they were developing. I think at the time it was called Collections Manager, or I think, is that right, Gabor? I think that's right. When I saw it and I saw what it could do, I effectively had a glimpse of the future and just said, I want 2 things. I want it now, and I want to invest in the company. And Jeremy appreciated that, and took it as a compliment, but said they weren't really looking for investment at the time. And I said, look, this is really good, but it can really be enhanced if you do these things for accountants, because at the time it was a bit more widely focused than just accountants. And so he actually took some of that on board and went and implemented it and said, look, I've had some really good feedback. A few months later, he came back and said, look, that feedback was really valuable, and I think you can probably add a bit of value by giving us some insights specifically into the accounting industry. And said, look, I would like you to come on board and invest in the business and actually become a director. So it was truly an example of I liked it so much I bought into the business.
That's a great story. I like the quote there. Hey, one of the reasons why we got you in today is you've changed PMs 3 times now. So you went from MYB to XPM, and now you've just gone to FY Elite. What I'd just love to know is how you found that change, how you found the change management, and how Apxium sort of guided you through that process.
Yeah, so initially, the pre-FYI, the process was fairly easy. It was a matter of just working out, how we wanted our correspondence to look, and the interesting part was just the big bang. So when we actually turned on Apxium, we effectively sent an email out to all clients in one hit, and it was. It was a bit of a nervy moment. So thinking, we've never communicated with our clients in this way before, and in one hit, we're about to go and send them all these invoices and statements and things. That interestingly, that was actually the best thing we could have done, because a whole lot of bills went out, and a whole lot of money came in, and our debtor days just dropped. I think it's just one of those situations where, clients, they enjoy dealing with us. They want to pay for our services, but they didn't necessarily have the communication or have a good awareness of what was owing at the time. So the process is very straightforward. That was the switch from just running from 0 XPM into Apxium. And then more recently, when we've transitioned into FYI, there was literally no process. I told the guys, look, we were going to switch into FYI, and they said, well, keep doing what you're doing, and there was no change.
Yeah, it's great. So collections could just keep running even though you're changing PM system, which is fantastic. So how about now? How much time do you spend on debtors, and maybe just share some, what's the feedback been from your clients on the platform?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really spend any time using Apxium, because it is actually really an automated process. I suppose there's 2 different things. The Apxium Engage that we use for certain engagements, like our bookkeeping and superannuation funds. The clients go and put their direct debits details in. We raise the invoices, and it just, the money hits the account on the same day every month or quarter. That's been fantastic. We've had no negative feedback from clients on that. That's just the process now, and when we communicated that, they liked it, and I love the fact that I don't need to go and compare sort of budget to actual on any of that sort of stuff. So we just know that the invoices will get paid, and that's sort of just a problem that's gone away. But more generally, for the engagements that aren't using Apxium Engage, like I said, we really don't use it because the debtor days aren't really a problem. I think that the key is communication, because there's so much communication going to these clients that they tend to just pay their bills, and because of all the options to pay. But say every sort of 2 to 4 weeks, we might go in and just check and see if there's anything that really is, a client that's struggling or straggling with their payments, and then might give them a call or something and see if we can help out. But often they don't know about the options that are available to them, because they think they just see the big fee. But a lot of them have just come across those funded installments naturally, just by way of it being presented in the invoicing.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, you mentioned super funds and having them on direct debit. Because I had a client because they had a super fund put their bill on the credit card by mistake, and now caught up in gnarly. So they're we're now configuring Apxium. This is a potential client. We're now configuring Apxium so super funds won't have the ability to put their credit card in. So we can do that. But just I loved hearing your story about putting super funds on direct debit. So therefore that you're taking the money out of their account rather than worrying about them using their credit card. So any further comments there, or?
No, look, I think that was an intentional part of our process offering, is just to make it easier for clients by just saying, look, if we just do it this way, you're not going to mess up any of that stuff, because I'm sure all the accountants out there have seen that exact problem and having to, and often we don't, come across it as accountants. We might only come across it, 6, 12 months after it's happened. Because you can only sort of see the transactions that go through the accounts. If something's been paid outside of the accounts, we won't sort of necessarily know until we do the year-end tally up. So that has been a really good thing.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the other bit I got away from it is that you've got one client who potentially has got direct debit for the super fund, they've got direct debit for their bookkeeping, they're still getting regular invoicing. And so it's, where can we look to put in place direct debits to make it easy for our clients as well as easy for us? So yeah, any feedback from clients? What's their reaction been?
Literally, they've all just, they've just adopted the new process and run with it. Yeah, that there's been, it's just a lot clearer now. The communication's a lot clearer. The bills are paid on, more up to date. So I just think you get fewer queries from clients. There's so much communication that goes on, whether it's on a fixed direct debit system, they'll still get that communication and reassurance that it's all happening. So I think, again, communication is what takes the arguments out of things.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, you did mention as well the fee funding. So we've got you set up with universal fee funding. So every client who logs in, they can choose to pay their bill off over time with a little bit of interest. What's your feedback there, and what's been the reaction from clients?
I mean, my feedback is don't prejudge your clients, because it's not a really, really cheap thing to do for clients. If they've got the ability to pay the fee, then they avoid paying those interest charges. But I've been really surprised about how many clients have taken it up and who's taken it up, because there's some clients that take it up that you think, oh, they've got plenty of money for whatever reason, and then you'll see that they've gone into this SAW arrangement, this funded arrangement. And when I've asked them about it, they've just said, look, no, we'd just rather a fixed amount go over 9 months than having this large amount go out in one hit. So that's been probably the biggest surprise to me, is that the clients that choose to use it are not the ones that I would have predicted. And the number of clients that use it is a lot higher than I had expected. So yeah, I mean, that I suppose that just goes to show that turning it on universally was a good move, because if I just sort of cherry picked the ones that I offered it to, there'd be a lot of underserviced clients.
Yeah, my call on that is it's a bit like insurance, right? A lot of people choose to pay their insurance monthly, not because they don't have the money. It's just, or not because they're worried about slightly higher to pay monthly. It's just ease, and it just means they can smooth out those payments. So yeah, good feedback there. Anything you're considering doing in the future? What are you sort of looking now? Now you got FY and you got the automation around the practice management. What are some of the things you might be thinking about doing?
Well, currently looking into ASIC payments. So at the moment, looking at ways of automating some of the now infinity / FYI combination. We use now infinity for ASIC, and combining that with some of the offerings in Apxium to be able to sort of streamline that whole process. So I don't want to say too much, because I'm playing with a couple of features that may not be widely available. But yeah, I'm expecting some pretty good efficiencies on that sort of front.
Yeah, sounds great. Hey, Chris, hoping you can hang around. Please, throughout the session, if you've got any special comments, you're welcome just to pipe in and have a chat. But I might get you back to talk about some of the other things as we go through today.
Sure.
Cool. So I'll just get the screen share back happening. Come back over here. Just double check that's all working, Gabor.
That is good.
Yeah, great. Excellent. So let's move into a bit more of the deep dive and the technical part of today's demonstration. Really, there's probably 3 core modules in Apxium, and we're going to cover each one of those in turn. And so module 1 is what we call regular billing. So that's where you're going to approve an invoice out of your practice management, and we integrate with virtually all the practice management solutions in Australia. So Xero, FYI, APS, MYB, MYB desktop, anything that you've got, we're probably going to integrate with it. So you approve the invoices, and then Apxium's going to automatically send the invoice, the statements and reminders. They're going to have a big green Pay Now button on them, and then that's going to take your client into a really nice environment, all mobile friendly, which we call a multi-entity client portal. So not just going to see that invoice that's outstanding, they're going to see all the invoices that are outstanding for that entity, as well as be able to jump between all their other entities across the group. So really nice. So your client's never going to be confused about which amount they've got to pay, which is fantastic. Then Apxium's got the built-in gateway, so EFT, credit card, etc. And we do integrate to any bank account, so you don't have to bank with a specific bank or anything like that. The funds will go directly into your bank account, or with your firm name referenced on the bank statement. And we're also going to save time because we're going to automatically reconcile those invoices back in your system. So really can be a pretty big time saver for your admin team, which they've got lots of other projects they'd love to get along with, and so they'll need to less have to go through the bank statement and go individually reconcile those payments, which is fantastic. Then we're going to cover module 2, and that's where we're sort of moving to the direct debit agreements engagements. So built into Apxium, complementary is the engagement process, being able to store direct debit information against a client. And then whenever you create an invoice for that direct debit, Apxium is going to do its magic and pick up that direct debit. We're also going to communicate to the clients. We're going to let them know before the direct debit is going to occur, and then we let them know when it does occur. Lastly, module 3, so that's our funding solutions. This is where, by providing your clients with choice, it means that we can accelerate the payment velocity. So that the choice becomes less about should I pay, becomes more about which method I'm going to use to pay, which is a slight psychological shift, but trust me, it does work absolutely. Then we're going to talk about our other funding solutions as well. So how you could access Apxium's funding solutions to accelerate your business growth or whatever you need funding for as well as touch on how we can help you and your clients with any ATO debt functionality. So one of the cornerstones of Apxium is being able to really customize the communication. So the invoice is going to have a Pay Now button, but all communications can be customized. So wording can get slightly more fixed over time, so you can start all nice and friendly, and then you can start to, as they go longer, become a bit more confident in in your collection wording. There's also built in a communication simulator, so you can see exactly what's going to be communicated to your clients and when. But it is all about your clients. So providing them with a nice user experience where they've got a smart link, they don't need to log in. It's all very quick. We've got those multi-entities. Then they're going to have 24/7 access to their invoices. So they'll be able to log in from your website. You can have a Pay Now button on your email. So there's really no reason why your client won't be able to find their invoices moving forward. And they'll also see all their history as well. And one of the great things about Apxium is really low transaction rates on payments. So I've been working with lots of firms over the last 6 months, and I haven't really come across one that we're not going to save them a bit of money on their transaction processing, and some quite a bit. So we're going to do a credit card. You can absorb it or surcharge it. It's all mobile friendly, and you can also get rid of your EFT terminals if you've got some of them around the office, because you can actually take the payments directly in Apxium, and again, we'll reconcile that all for you. We've also got excellent reporting, so all settlement reporting, so you'll be able to reconcile everything from the deposit at the bank account to exactly what was done. Most firms will say that they kind of do that initially, but then, as Chris said, after a while, you just start to trust the machines, and everything just happens. And again, we are, as I said, bank agnostic, and your firm name is reflected on clients' bank statements. Hey, but that's enough words. I think it's great to actually go and see software. So we really want to spend as much time as we could showing the software, and I'll probably welcome to the stage Gabor to pick up the demonstration to get us started. Thanks, Gabor.
All right. How's that looking?
Yep, perfect.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ned. The idea was that we can switch it up a little bit. If you've got different voices coming through, it makes it that much more interesting. And we all have our own experiences with in the industry, and we know different things. So hopefully this will keep it interesting for you. Um, by no intent am I going to go through the entire system. Just by looking at it, you can see that there's a series of menu structures here, all of which open a little door to some wonderful functionality. And I have no capacity to go through this in the next 5 minutes. But I really want to follow on with Ned's indication of he's talked about module 1, module 2, module 3, and I just want to give you a little bit of a glimpse each of those modules so you get a sense of the fact of what is in the background, how does it work, what's the logic. But I think Chris said it well. He doesn't pay any attention to what's going on. There's a lot of automation, and one of the things that happens is, you know, just approve the invoice and Apxium does the rest. It's as simple as that. And so if we follow that module 1 logic for now, I will come back and talk to the engagements and auto debits at another time. But for now, let's look at module 1, which is all the communication engine, the client experience, the payments, the reconciliations. And the idea is that once we hook up to your PM system, whatever it be, it's automatically communicating and seeing information. So as you log into Apxium, you can log in. We've got SSO, we've got various connections that you can have. So you can have your FYI connections, you can have your Anacha connections, you can, again, connect anything you want up. But then this information is automatically coming through from your PM system to us. You don't have to push any buttons. You approve an invoice, we see it. You change it, we see it. You put in a credit note, we see it. You change the contact details, we see it. You put in an external payment, we see it. So we always have a reflection of the source of truth from your PM system. And so once we've got that, then ideally we want to take over the entire AR process for you because we've really nailed it down to be a well communicated and well set out structure. And so from there, the idea is we want to send out the invoice, you want to send out reminders, you want to send out an escalation process that you can set up. And Ned mentioned this idea of a statement simulator. So if you think about it, let's say we pick up a client, we can go to their notification, and in here, the client might first of all get payment instruction, which is an email with the PDF attached from your system. And if it's not paid, then you're able to build any and all wonderful communication solutions for them. So what I'm sharing with you here is the screenshot of is the system, is the statement simulation. And you can build any and all documents you wish here. So for instance, my example currently has an invoice notification, which is the invoice going out. I've got a 25-day reminder, a 55-day reminder, which are triggering as those invoices are hitting those timings. And then I've got a monthly statement, which goes out to everyone. And here's an example of a document. It doesn't have to be your document. It's a completely customizable document. But my point is that you've built it. It's got the language you want on it. And then from there, the simulator gives you certainty of what's going to happen in the future because you can run it for the future and say, well, show me all the documents that are going to go out over the next 25 days. And the simulator uses your data to show you, well, this is what's going to happen. So as an example, you can have a 25-day reminder go out for a particular client. You might have an invoice go out, then a 55-day reminder go out for some other clients. And these documents are all customizable and they've got a big bright button on them to click on, and the clients can go into their dashboard. And once they're in their dashboard, they can see all their invoices 24/7. And one of the things that Ned mentioned was that you can see your various entities. So if I go into, say, a client called Baseline, and now I am in Baseline's dashboard. Baseline can see what they owe us. They can see that potentially they can look at their notifications, they can look at other information. But one of the things we're inviting Baseline to do is to use multi-factor authentication to prove who they are to us. And once they do that, we then give them access to all their entities in your PM system. Now, this happens automatically. You don't have to trigger Apxium to do this. We just map all depending on how you've set it up and depending on the PM system, parent-child relationships, etc. But we can see them, and then I'm a client of yours. I can see my associated invoices. As it says, to view an invoice, click on the invoice number above. Up will pop the invoice, and now I can make a payment. So payments, electronic transfer, credit card, it's telling me what my experience will be. Note that we, as Ned said, we can search out credit cards, or we can, or you can absorb it. That's entirely up to you. And when a client wants to make a payment, it's as simple as choosing what they want to pay. And so if they try to overpay, they can't. But once they want to make a payment, they can definitely choose what they want to pay and make that payment. The
Well, can I
payments,
just jump in there and just
please
say
do.
that the ability for a client when they go in to pay an invoice and not only see the invoice that you've just sent them, but also all the other invoices that are due is probably something that I didn't realize how valuable that was going to be when I implemented Apxium, because we were sending invoices in isolation. And so what would happen is if the client missed one invoice, then they would go and make a payment, and we would apply it against the oldest invoice first. They would apply it against the only invoice they thought was outstanding. And so we'd have this mismatch in what was actually owing. So I think I can't underemphasize how useful it is, so that when they click, they can see any other invoices that are still outstanding, because it prompts the conversation at the time rather than waiting till they're in arrears and we say, hey, this is uncomfortable now, can you pay? It just cuts out that conversation.
Perfect. Thank you. And again, as Chris said, clients can see all their invoices, how many there are. When the statements go out, as I showed you, all the statements have all of their invoices on there. So if there's multiple for a particular client, as you can see, the statement draws their attention to multiple invoices and also tells them if there's any overdue. So once they make the payment, they can easily pay what's outstanding, fill in their payment details, save those payment details for future use. But once that's done, um, payments taken, we send a receipt, and from a client's perspective, as you can see, the dashboard instantly goes to say that they no longer owe anything. They've received the receipt, and then we're back into your experience, which is really quite rich. There's a lot of information in your dashboard. You can see your banking, payments, settlements. You can go to payments, and it tells you the status of that payment. Ned mentioned that we do post payments automatically, and we do that, and we also reconcile your bank feeds in Xero automatically. So all you do is approve the invoice, and we do the rest. So I'll stop there now. This was really just a taster. There's quite a lot more in there. You can take payments over the phone that auto reconcile also. There's lots of other tools, but I'll now stop sharing and let you take over again, Ned.
Yeah, great. So that's module one, and a real world life experience. I just had a firm go live, quite a large firm with $1.2 million in debtors. Within about 90 days, they'd over halved their debtors, and there's no, they'll say there's no one bit of functionality that's done this. It's just a series of micro steps that have helped them achieve that outcome. We're going to move on to module two, and I think this is where a lot of the industry is heading, is around capturing direct debit details, getting the client to approve in advance of the service what you're going to do. So that's automated and hopefully moving you towards zero debtor days. So here we can, using Apxium, we can create the engagement. It will send it out. The client can then sign it, digitally sign it, as well as multiple signatures if you use Anature, and put their payment methodology against it. Once that payment methodology is captured in Apxium, what we're going to do is you're then going to create that invoice in your practice management. Apxium is going to see it as a direct debit invoice, and it's going to do its magic wherever it sees a payment term stored against the client. So we sort of work in combination with your practice management, which is great. So a little quote here from Christy Maitland from Skybridge, and that they were using a competitor product, but they switched over to Apxium, both to save money as well as to get some efficiency gain as well. So they're also an FY site like Chris, so that signed engagement letter automatically files back into FY, so they don't need to manually go and do that. Excellent. So really, it's quite a magic system. So again, what the client's signing is a direct debit agreement, and then you then got the ability to then go and raise an invoice and have that automatically deduct. We're going to do all the communication. So we're going to send the client confirmation of the invoice with no pay now button, because they don't need to do anything with it. So it's just notification that you're about to direct debit. And then on the payment date, we're automatically going to debit that and put that into your bank account. It is all PCI compliant, and we can really, you can do whatever payment terms over these debits as you want. So I think Chris mentioned he's going to start using it for ASIC fees, using it for super funds. I think there's software subscriptions is another big one in accounting firms today, where really looking to automate some of these smaller invoices, especially to take it away from your clients. And I think that's probably the key. I think you'll be surprised how many clients actually want you to do this. Clients don't want to spend the time paying your invoice, and if you're giving them this option where you can just automatically take the money, you are in a position of trust. So your clients are probably more willing to take this on than what you might think. So with that, let's cover this just quickly as part of a demonstration as well. So I'll hand back to you, Gabor, just to show us how we can get auto debits magic happening.
Thank you. Righto. I'm sharing my screen again. Back to the dashboard. Is that right, Ned?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Wonderful. Again, I'm going to state the obvious once more. Please, hit us up for a demonstration. A full demonstration today is not it. But everything you're seeing comes plug and play with the solution, meaning you've got one of your menu items is called engagements, and its purpose is to allow you to generate essentially an electronic form which goes to the client. They're able to sign electronically, provide payment methods in a PCR compliant manner, which are then captured against their record. And so these forms you create inside your engagement dashboard. There is a workflow for these engagements, meaning you can create them, you can build them, you can create unique ones, or you can create ones that you just want to turn into a template so that you're rolling them out all the time. For instance, if it's for a software subscription, it's a very general template, and you can just keep rolling those out to the clients. When you generate them, they're very simple. It's designed to be simple. It looks quite different to others you might have seen, and that is part of the cleverness of the system, because it's just so easy to use. You so quickly generate engagements that you just simply go through, decide on your fee structure you want to hit up the client for. What is it? It might be an indefinite fee subscription, might be a variable cost, it might be a monthly, quarterly, upfront. Could even have tax exclusive, as Chris mentioned, for something like an ASIC fee. And so once you've got your engagement, you can send it out to the client. The client gets an electronic document. Looks quite simple, but again, it's integrated with FYI. So as these things are signed, they're automatically filing into the cabinets. Everything's happening automatically. They're providing payment methods, signing electronically, and once they do that, the system saves the record, the payment authority the client provided you against the client's record. And so if I go into a particular client, I can see I'm looking at baseline industries. I now have a payment authority, and if you have a look in the red box, it's essentially saying these payment methods can now be used to auto debit, and they're so easy to invoke, and it's a very clever way we do it, which is via your invoices. So your invoices become the debit authority. We pick up those invoices, send them to the clients. No longer do they have a payment button on them, but rather they inform the client, just like AGL or Telstra or any utility, here's your invoice. Unless there's any issues, we're just going to debit this from you. But it's so easy to lose the power of that structure, because that structure allows you now to control that debit very easily. If, for instance, let's say it's a software subscription and that person buys another Xero seat, you can just simply go in, change the amount that they want, that you're going to debit them, change the invoice amount, and when Apxium picks it up, sends it to them, now they've got an invoice that says we're now going to take $200 as opposed to $150 as per last week. Once we do that, we take the money and again auto reconcile everything, fully do the bank recs on it, and it's all
Gabor,
done for you.
can I just say, Gabor, that where
Again,
it comes
please.
in really helpful for us is that with a lot of our bookkeeping engagements and superannuation fund engagements, where the clients have got a fairly stable requirement each year, so it doesn't change a whole lot. We will tend to offer a fixed fee and just adjust it with a sort of an inflationary sort of adjustment each year. We don't actually need to go back to the client and get them to reconfirm that direct debit amount. It's not what we can actually do is just change what we invoice them, and it will still flow through and get direct debited from them. So that has taken a lot. If you compare it to the sort of gym system where you go and sign up for your direct debit and it's a fixed amount for every engagement, the same amount hits your bank account each month. To go and change that, you need to go back to the client to change the amount. In this case, we don't. Once we've got the authorities, as you say, we're in a position of trust and we can just invoice more and have it still direct debit.
Back to you, Ned.
Great, cool. Probably the other thing Gabor didn't have time to show, but is that you can manually put those details against the client as well. So you can capture those against the client and manually go and put that in. You don't have to use the whole engagements platform. So you can just still use the direct debit by just entering their details, or we've got a form we can send to you where the client can just fill out a direct debit authority form. So there's multiple ways you can get that information in, and then let the magic take over. So that's module 2, which is great. But then what the funding solutions provide is then the ability for you to offer choice to a client. And I know it's it's a minor point, but by offering choice, you'll be surprised about how many clients, when faced with a choice, they actually just go and pay the invoice. And so just by offering these types of installments, accelerates your payments in any case. So there's 2 types of installments that you can offer. And first of all is the unfunded installment. That's where you're going to carry it on your balance sheet. So you're going to say to the client, hey, you can pay your invoice off over a period of time. We'll still send an offer to that client using Apxium for them to accept the offer. And then using that direct debit system, we'll automatically take the payments out from your client. You're not going to rely on them to log into their internet banking to comply with that payment arrangement. You're going to automate it for them, which is a really fantastic way. Now, our best practice on that is to only offer it over weeks. So if you're going to carry it on your balance sheet, you might say, hey, yes, client, but you've got to pay it off over weekly installments. Whereas if you want to pay it off over months, that's where we suggest you move in towards what we call funded professional fee funding. That's where we're going to settle 100% of the invoice to you overnight. So you're going to get the full value of that invoice, and the client's going to pay that invoice over a period of time plus interest. Now, depends on the system configuration. We can set up with a default offer of say 9 months or 6 months, whatever you choose it to be, and then you can still tailor that to suit an individual client. So if you've got someone who says, hey, I want to pay it off over 12 months or 3 months, 6 months, you can offer them a bespoke offer to help them. But we recommend a universal offer that everyone gets to see. Now, we are going to show you this very quickly, so I'll just hand over Gabor for one more time just to give a quick look at the installment options. Thanks, Gabor.
No problem at all. Again, a little taster of just how it operates. It's fully automated, such that you can have a universal offer. Or indeed you can change it at any time for the client. But when the client comes into their dashboard, as you can see, I'm in the Blue Bloomerworks dashboard. As usual, I can see my invoices. I can see my associated invoices, see the PDFs, and I can pay for them as I showed you before by EFT and credit card. But I also have the opportunity to pay by monthly installments. In this case, over 9 installments as per this setup. And then there's an extra cost to me. So when I come to pay, I can find that out. There's also a little information button I can click here, and when I do that, it shows me everything I need to know about what does it mean to pay in installments, what's my rate, and how does it actually work. So all of that's there for them. Very simple to accept. They just simply move forward, put in a payment method. Then the next pages show them the consequence of that. The paperwork is automatically drawn up for them. The paperwork is automatically saved. So the direct debit service agreement, everything is done automatically. Served to them once they accept it. They know the schedule, and then the system automatically debits them. With the funded installments, you get the money straight away, which means, let's say there was $10,000 in invoices or an invoice outstanding. The client paid over 9 months. We debit the client over 9 months. You get the money up front. In an unfunded, you're simply automating that. But again, you're completely in charge of which of those you invoke for your client. Again, I'm going to stop there and give it back to you, Ned.
Thanks, Gabor. Come here. Excellent. So let's keep moving through. So probably, a sister product to that professional fee funding is we then have a lot of clients who start to ask us, hey, if you're financing our client, can you also look to finance us? And so that's what we're calling Wobble. Interesting name, but it's short for whole of book lending. So it does make sense once you start to say it a few times. And it's really designed as a light touch, unsecured loan facility. And so that's where we will lend against your WIP and or outstanding invoices to give you access to new types of capital. Now, we're not going to compete with your overdraft. We know that accounting firms are relatively well capitalized, but every firm wants to grow, expand, and potentially looking at partner draws or options to explore around access to capital. So if you'd like to know more on the rates, etc., how the system works, and get in touch with us. Then because we're then doing financing of accounting firms, we had a lot of firms like Chris come to us and say, hey, we've got this big issue that's coming up with the ATO and ATO debt funding. And so would we be prepared to fund ATO debt? And I'll put the quote up from Chris, but maybe I'll get him to speak to it as well around taxpay.
Yeah, look, I'm sure the people watching know all about how annoying it is to deal with the ATO when it comes to tax debts. So what we're finding is that clients will get unexpected tax debt for whatever reason. Wasn't us, but they haven't planned for it, and they sort of say, "What?" I actually had one this morning that said, "What do I do? I didn't realize my installment was going to jump by this much. What am I supposed to do?" And typically what happens is, we'll say, well, before tax pay, we would say, well, you can go to the ATO and ask for a payment arrangement. Now, there are some issues there. So the first one is that it would take, how many phone calls or how many hours on the phone to negotiate a payment arrangement. And so the client will go and do that. And, for simple ones, it might work okay. But a lot of the time, they'll say, look, it's too hard. Can you guys do it for us? And so then, and I'm sure, again, people listening will be familiar with this, is that someone from the admin team will ring up the ATO and try and make a payment arrangement. We'll go back to the client and say, great news, we've got a payment arrangement negotiated for you. And the client say, oh, no, I can't afford to pay that amount up front, or I can't, that's too much, can you go for longer? And then this sort of process will repeat. So very long, time-consuming process. Even when we've said to clients, look, we charge $500 to make a payment arrangement, they'll still come back and say, yeah, can you do it? So not much fun. And realistically, like I said in that quote, realistically, what happens is if they're under duress, they accept these payment arrangements with the ATO, the terms of which they could never have actually kept up with. They fall over on payment 2, and then they're back to try and negotiate another one. So it's just a complete waste of time. And I think the clincher is now that ATO interest is no longer tax deductible. It makes it a whole lot more expensive for them. And so really, they need to look at other ways of funding it.
Yeah, great call out. A nice little segue. So I don't need to tell anyone on the call today that general interest charge. I think now everyone's familiar. It's non-deductible. I kind of question how many clients are actually aware yet. I think it's going to take some time for that to filter through. What we're also hearing is that payment plans are getting harder to get. Also, there is a less of a chance of getting interest remitted. So the ATO are playing a little bit more hardball, and probably the message is that they're no longer a bank. So, what are the highlight details of our tax pay solution? So part of our risk mitigation strategies, we actually settle direct to the ATO. So the client can't go and buy a boat or go on overseas holidays. So we'll settle direct to the ATO to get rid of that outstanding amount. Pretty simple, 9% flat fee, interest charged in advance, and then they're paying off over 12 months. It is an unsecured, personally guaranteed business-only loan. It really fits in well with existing lending covenants, and it does provide them with an evergreen, fully revolving loan facility. So we might approve them to $100,000. They get a $30,000 BAS. They can do a draw. Then next quarter, BAS comes around for $100,000. They can potentially go and just draw that down to sort of keep that funding going. So one of the most common uses, obviously clearing tax debt, as potentially part of a bigger picture refinancing strategy. So they can clear the tax debt and then they can go to a bank and get additional overdrafts or access to capital, knowing that they've got this unsecured backup should they ever need. Obviously, as we mentioned before, with the payment plans for your accounting fees, lots of businesses just like to smooth out their payments. And so this provides them with that ability just to go and smooth it out. And probably lastly, there's lots of clients out there with current ATO payment plans where all of a sudden overnight, the interest has gone deductible. So seeing lots of firms just switching over, we pay out the payment plan, ATO doesn't care, and we can move them to a deductible loan interest account. Now, probably the last point is that there is eligibility criteria. We can share that with you after today. So just drop us a note. In fact, I think I might even have it in the resources. If you can click through in Zoom somewhere, I think I'll put the resources up. So there's eligibility criteria. And the key is it is for good businesses to smooth out tax debt. With 9% interest, it's not designed as a lender of last resort for your clients that might be struggling, and we're definitely not an asset-backed lender. So there's lots of providers out there in that space, but they're not charging 9%. I can tell you that. So this is for good business looking to smooth out. The last one I just want to talk about today, I won't do the poll, but is our Audit Safe product. So this is a little 1%er in your firm. So there's no additional time that this product might take for those that are offering audit insurance to their clients today. It really means you spend about the same time, but you get to keep a significant higher proportion of the revenue and therefore profit attached to the service. Chris, you're here. What do you like about Audit Safe?
Oh, look, I just love it that, it's when I went through the process with others out there who offer this type of insurance, not this insurance, this is the prepaid compliance service. The issue is that we had to communicate with a lot of clients, and a lot of the clients who didn't actually want it, and they would sort of just get annoyed with this communication. And so we as a firm decided not to offer it at all. When this came along, we said, well, actually, this is good because there is a need for it, and we shouldn't sort of prejudge our clients with what they need and what they don't. You don't go and get life insurance hoping to get value out of it. So it's a nice to be able to go and offer this to clients and for them to make their own decision about whether they want it or not. It's also really nice to be able to price it differently for clients. So, there are some clients where you think, well, they are probably at a higher risk of getting an audit. Whether they're squeaky clean or not is another thing. But in terms of the risk factors for an audit, they're probably high. The chance that we're going to have to help them out with an audit is high, and therefore their premium, if you like, is higher. So it's been a great thing for us, and I think it's just nice to be able to offer the service on your terms.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned it initially, it's not an insurance product, it's a prepaid service offering. What this means is it's a significant increase in income and profit to your firm. Because you're to some extent self-insuring, there's no legalistic claims process, there's no excess payable. And then what Apxium have developed is a full platform that then goes and manages all the documentation, creates the invoice, the payment terms, creating the accounting back in your practice management. So we do the end-to-end support of how you're going to provide this service out to your clients. And then we've got some automation built in. So next year, when it rolls around, we roll over the data and you can re-offer it to those that accepted last year. In short, what this means is that you get to keep 80% of the revenue attached to it. So we're just going to charge you 20% for the platform, and you get to keep 80%. It is a massive change in the profitability of offering this service. We do have a calculator, so you can jump in your names. This is sort of how the calculator works out. Happy to share that calculator with you afterwards, so you can kind of get a view for what would the likely outcome be to switch over to Audit Safe from another insurance provider, with a lot more flexibility built into the platform as well. I just want to take a step back though and just summarize what we saw with the Collect platform, because that was probably the focus today. It is designed around getting that tide to come back in and reducing your debtor days. It's also around just reducing your overheads and hopefully embedding some of those finance solutions as well. I haven't come across a firm yet where credit card rates aren't the lowest in market, and the direct debit is really best in market as well. So I've got lots of firms who are switching over to just as part of it to be a low cost platform. It is also, though, about your clients. So having them a really good payment methodology where they've got good visibility over what they've got outstanding really increases your client's satisfaction, even though they're paying their outstanding accounts. Also, it's not just about the finance, the benefit. It's around operational efficiency. So just having your staff, Chris mentioned it before. He only spends, he logs into Apxium every 3 or 4 weeks just to double check, and that's really what we're talking about here: is saving partners time, because debtors are sort of managed for them, if you like, but also your admin time saved on reconciling those payments back into their bank account. And if you think, they could potentially halve the time they're spending, if not more, by reconciling payments made through the Apxium platform. Lastly, you're in good company. So Apxium's been around for over 8 years. We've got over $3 billion in fees under management. As Gabor mentioned, we've got really big firms in the US. We've got even $1 billion firm over in the US using the Apxium platform. Here in Australia, PKF Sydney, probably our largest, about 400 users, and you can see lots of other firms on the left there, based in Australia, both MYB, Xero firms, Simplico firms, yeah, we support all the practice management solutions in the Australian marketplace today. So you're in very good company. Next steps, always like to finish with some next steps, is book your personal demonstration. I think I'll put a booking link in Zoom. Hopefully you can see that. Or we'll, after today, email you a copy of the recording and some additional fact sheets so you've got them handy. So we'd love to catch up with you and spend some time doing some of these ROI calculations for you. We've got a Skybridge customer story. It's just at the printing presses. We're just waiting for the final approval on that one. But we hopefully be able to share that out, if not straight away, hopefully in the coming weeks. There is a complimentary, no obligation sandbox site for Collect or Audit Safe as well, where you can just go and see your clients, your invoices in the Apxium platform with no cost or obligation or commitment to proceed. And lastly, HO debt funding. If you are interested, you could sign an introductory agreement and we can set up the platform so you can go and introduce this to some of your clients and see if there's any interest in smoothing out their tax obligations. That's probably all the technical content. I think we're pretty much bang on time, but we are happy to take any queries if anyone wants to post in the chat. I did have a query from someone before we joined today, and that was actually on the RBA surcharging. So I might kick off with Gabor on that one, just to get his insight into, for those that don't know, RBA have come out and said they're going to ban surcharging in July of next year. The wording seems to indicate this is probably going to happen, but you know, until it's actually done, we can't be sure. But Gabor, I'd love to get your insight into what all that might mean.
Yeah, this is something we've been dealing with around the world. Various jurisdictions allow and don't allow. So the UK doesn't allow it. Canada only recently started allowing it. The US allows it, and of course Australia does. On the other hand, it sounds like the RBA will be changing things. They'll be both potentially stopping surcharging and also putting in some rules around maximum interchange rates. I guess what's important here is to know that from Apxium's point of view, we offer a very, very low credit card rate. So if it does turn out that surcharging comes about, that would mean that you as our clients would need to absorb that fee, and you can rest assured that from Apxium's point of view, you've got the very lowest credit card rate known amongst our competitors. Having said that, you know, I've really got a sense of just where surcharging sits, and I really understand why a partnership and a firm might want to surcharge their fees. On the other hand, it really gets your clients back up a little bit. And if the intent is to get paid and create velocity of payments, then I often say to our clients, look, just absorb the cost. It's a very small amount you need to increase your fees to carry that cost, but I assure you're going to get a higher payment velocity by not surcharging. So there's a couple of thoughts of mine, Ned. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it really is just that what we can see in our platform is if you absorb, your debtor days are less than if you surcharge. But it's entirely up to you. We're not by any means mandating it. This is your system. You can tailor it to suit your needs. Chris, do you surcharge or absorb?
We actually do surcharge. Obviously, this would mean a change for us, and it means that, you know, the pressure is on to get the rate as low as possible. And I do agree that Apxium is the cheapest in the market. I suppose it's going to be interesting as accountants. I doubt very much that everyone's just going to cop it on the chin and say that's going to eat into our profit share. I think people just reprice their services. But yeah, look, I think the most important thing is get the cheapest rate.
Yeah, great. I can't see any other Q&A. So with that, just a final thing. Thank you for giving up your lunchtime today to come and spend it with us. I hope you got something valuable. Would love to hear some feedback, even if it's just to say, good session. Please let us know. And if there's any queries you've got, we'll send you an email or get in touch with us through those contact details on the screen that you can see. Thanks again for your time. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Gabor.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the next one.
All right. Take care.